here's the video about parallel and perpendicular lines and slopes of lines. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we might need to do a quick review about how to find the slope of a line. If the slopes are on a graph, then you should be able to do the rise over run. Oops, I need my pen. What happened? Remember, rise over run is how far we're going up and how far we're going over from one point to the next point. So we can do a slope m. Remember, that's the symbol, is the rise over the run. And we could just do that on the graph. Or we can use the slope formula, which is y2 subtract y1 over x2 subtract x1. And so what I want to do is explore a couple things about the slope of the lines around these points. Let's just label the points first. If A is -1, -3, -1, -3, so this is point A down here. B is 3, 3, so this is point B. C is -3, +2, so that's point C. And D is -3, I just made a mistake, I'm sorry. C is +3, -2. This is C down here. D is -3, +2. My apologies. D is right here. Well, if we drew a line from D to C, this isn't working, I need this line thing here, D to C, and we drew a line from A to B, nice little intersection here. But what I want to do is find the slopes of these lines, because I want to see, I think that these lines are intersecting at a right angle, what we would call the lines perpendicular, and I just want to see if that's true or not. So if I want to find the slope of line AB, I want to find the slope, then I'm going to do y2, so that's my second y, 3, subtract y1, my first y, so subtract a -3, that means I'm going to add them and subtract a negative, over x2, that's a 3 here, subtract x1, well that's also subtract a -1, so that becomes plus, so it's going to be 6 over 4, and we can reduce the fraction 6 over 4 to 3/2. So there's my slope of my line AB. I'm going up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. Well, now let's look at line CD and find the slope. So again, take my second y, 2 subtract my first y, -2, that's going to become plus when you subtract a negative, and my second x, -3, subtract +3, well this looks like this is going to be 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, over -6, well this we can reduce to -2/3. So what do we notice about 3 over 2 and -2/3? Hopefully you're noticing that one's positive and one's negative. Those are called opposites. And 3 over 2, if you flipped it around, becomes 2 over 3. Those are called reciprocals. So when you have two lines and their slopes are opposite reciprocals, then the lines intersect at a right angle. They are what we call perpendicular. Perpendicular lines. So that's pretty cool. Let's look at the next example and see what, oh my. I guess I have to use the same one again. Oh, I didn't start on the first one. Well, I'm jumping back here. That's okay. Same situation. What I want you to do is change C for me to the point 5, negative 2. So instead of 3, negative 2, we're going to go 5, negative 2 and make this point C. This is still point A. This is still point B. And this is going to be point D, now that we figured that out. And this time I want you to draw a line from D to B and A to our new point C. And looking at these lines, you should start to say, they look like they're going the same distance and direction, and gosh, maybe even their slopes are the same. So we want to see if they have the same slope. That's what we're trying to explore. So if I do line D to B, so D to B, so I'm taking this Y, 2, subtract my B, 3, over this X, negative 3, subtract B, 3. So it looks like 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Well, negative over negative, that's just going to be a positive 1/6. And now I'm going to do A to C for my slope, and so I'm going to do my new C value here, negative 2 for Y minus a negative 3 over 5 minus 1 minus a negative 1. So that becomes a plus here and a plus here. So negative 2 plus 3 is just positive 1. And 5 plus 1 is 6. And right away you should be saying, yes, they do have the same slope. And in fact, when two lines have the same slope, that means that the lines are parallel. Remember, parallel means they will never intersect. So, if we jump to the next situation here, it says the slopes of parallel lines are the same. Exactly the same. So, for example, we had 1/6 and 1/6, or you could say negative 2 and negative 2. These are exactly the same. The slopes of perpendicular lines are what we call opposite reciprocals. The opposite part means one's negative and one's positive. The reciprocal part, reciprocal, means that the fraction is flipped. Okay. So let's write some examples here. We could have 2/3. The opposite of that would make it negative, and the reciprocal part means it would be 3/2. Or if I had 5, the opposite of that would be negative, and the reciprocal, remember, if it's a whole number, it's like it's over 1, well, that would be negative 1/5 as a reciprocal. Okay, one more example. If we had negative 1/4 already, the opposite of that would be a positive, and the reciprocal would just be 4, or 4/1. So how do we apply this? Let's look at this example. It says, find the slope of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 4. Well, the slope of this line right now is 2. If we want it to be perpendicular, that means that it has to be an opposite reciprocal. So the new line would be the opposite, so it's going to have to be negative, and the reciprocal, which means it would have to be 1/2, because this is like 2/1. This says, find the slope of a line that is perpendicular to 4x plus 3y equals 6. Well, this is in standard form, so before we can use it, we need to put it into slope-intercept form. This should be a quick review for Math 1. We're going to have to minus 4x from both sides of the equal sign. So we have 3y is equal to negative 4x plus 6. We're going to divide by 3. So y is equal to negative 4 thirds x plus, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now we know that the slope is negative 4 thirds, and the new line has to be the opposite of that, so it's going to be positive, and the reciprocal would be 3 over 4. Find the slope of a line that is parallel to the line containing the point. So we need to figure out the slope of these again first. So remember, slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the slope of this line is the second y, 3 subtract 7 over 4 subtract 5. Well, 3 minus 7 is negative 4. 4 minus 5 is negative 1, so that's going to just be positive 4 as my slope. And so if it's going to be parallel, then my new line is going to have a slope also of 4, because it's the same if they're parallel. Same. That's an easy one. This, I think, is our last example. The slope of a line that is perpendicular to the line containing the points 5, 3, and 4, 8. So again, find the slope of this line. Second y, 8 minus the first y, 3. Second x, 4 minus the first y, 5. 8 minus 3, 5. 4 subtract 5 is negative 1. Well, this is negative 5. Our new line is going to have the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite of negative is going to be positive. The reciprocal of 5 over 1 is 1 over 5. So this is the slope of our new line. These are opposite reciprocals. Thanks for listening.